Have you ever wanted to see how your RV is built?
Or maybe you've wondered just why they do the things the way they do them.
If so, stick around.
We have a lot to show you. Hi, we're Brian and Tina with Jonesin to Go, and recently we've had the opportunity to spend some time with the folks over at Keystone for the Keystone Brand Ambassador Rally, and we got to see exactly how our Montana was built.
And then some. So real quick before we really dive into this, Keystone had us busy for 2 full days while we were here with backstage tours of everything that Keystone does. So there's a lot of information to throw at you, and we're gonna have to break this up into like 3 videos. So if you want to see part 2 and part 3, we're gonna leave links at the end of each video to get you on to the next one. So just look for that at the end. And so we're just gonna dive into this. We started our first day with a tour of their customer service department, and that's pretty impressive.
It's not only impressive by what they do, but the size and the volume of calls and just everything, the way it's handled so efficiently.
Yeah, they're handling calls for, you have to remember that Keystone has several brands, and when I say several, I'm probably underestimating that, including, they also, customer service here also handles calls for Dutchman and Crossroads. So these folks are busy. I think they told us they handle like 1,200 calls a day.
Yeah, a lot.
And that could be anything from a dealer calling in to get authorization for warranty work or parts, or a customer calling in for whatever reason. I know we've called customer service before when we've had a question when we were on the road as far as, can you guys direct us in a direction to get help? And they were very helpful at that. So these folks have a lot going on all the time, and they'll also direct calls or forward them on to parts or whatever. So just a couple of takeaways from our tour with the customer service department. I'm sure a lot of you have already experienced how long it takes to get your RV into a dealership and get service work done. Keystone sees that, they recognize that, and they're doing things to try to help alleviate that stress for us, the end user.
They recently added some DIY programs or videos or something.
Yeah, I mean, if what they've done is, if it's a simple repair and you think you can handle it, they'll just send you the parts for free under your warranty. So if it's something real simple and you don't want to drag your RV to the dealership and let it sit for a month or however long they're telling you, Keystone's fine with letting you do the repair now and just sending you the parts. So I think that's great, because a lot of things that we do, especially when our rig is brand new and we give it its first shakedown, you know, some things come loose here and there or whatever, or we find out maybe this light doesn't work right or something like that.
Well, and the videos are really helpful too. Like if you just need to like tweak something, like they have a how to adjust your roller shades and just little things like that to, you know, I know I've had that issue before where they just don't spring up as fast or as tight or whatever.
Yeah, and the one thing that we really took away from that tour too is these guys are always looking for a way to improve. So I was impressed by that, and as a Keystone owner, that gives me some peace of mind that there's somebody there that has our back if something goes wrong.
Well, I mean, several times it was mentioned like we've done this to try to improve this, and that just was like all the time I was hearing that, and I thought that was very impressive.
Yeah, those folks, if there's one thing that they pay attention to, it is customer service. So now there's one thing coming too that's going to really enhance things for us as the end user. We're not allowed to say yet because this program hasn't been rolled out.
But it's top secret.
Top secret for now. But I promise you, what's coming down the pike from Keystone is some exciting stuff, and it's really going to enhance our experience as customers. So you guys stay tuned for that. Once that is released and they let us talk about it, we'll let you guys know. But it's something really cool coming.
Yeah.
So from there, we went over to their parts warehouse and got a nice tour of that, and that is an enormous warehouse. And
Lots
again,
of parts.
exactly.
Well, you think about how many different brands of RVs they have, and and everyone's different in decor and size of holding tanks and all those things. They have a lot to store.
Yeah, and you can see we're putting some pictures up here for you just how big this warehouse is. I mean, they are stocking everything from holding tanks to axles.
Flooring,
God
everything.
forbid you tear your flooring. You can get a hold of them and get some replacement flooring. So that was a pretty impressive tour. So from the parts warehouse, then we moved on over to their service department. Keystone does have an in-house service department. So if you, for some unfortunate reason, have some kind of a catastrophic repair that needs to be done that maybe your dealership can't handle it or the service center in your area,
like getting your wall replaced.
yeah, you can see here there was a cougar, the whole wall was out. So that's probably something that the dealership can't handle. So when it comes to stuff like that, they do have a service department here at Keystone to handle those big things that can't be handled out either by mobile RV techs or maybe your local dealership. So now we're going to jump into the tours. But before we do that, I just want to mention that before we came out here, we put out on social media, specifically a few of the Montana owners groups, that we were going to be out here for this tour, and let everybody know that if they had any questions or wanted to see something specific, to let us know. And quite a few of you did. So keep in mind that a lot of these tours are going to be focused around those questions and those requests. And we're going to meet up with Sam Lenrich, who is the product manager for Montana Luxury and Montana High Country. And Montana Luxury is the brand that we own. So we're going to spend a lot of time with Sam. And
2 full days.
2 full days. And one more thing. This video is really intended to be informational and educational for Keystone owners.
Or potential Keystone owners.
Right. And we're going to be specific to the Montana brand, obviously. So this isn't going to be a lot of B-roll and music and things like that. So just kind of bear with us. And like we said already, these are going to be long videos. So we're going to head over to the lamination department and start there. And that's not a part of a tour that probably the general public gets. So we wanted to make sure we showed you guys this as well, because we're getting a lot more as ambassadors for this rally than what the general public would probably get.
Yeah, we've been, as someone in the market for Montana in the past, we've gone on a factory tour, and the lamination department was not part of what you got to see.
Nope. So you're going to get to see how the walls are built, and there's 2 different methods, and we're going to cover all that for you. So let's go meet up with Sam, and we'll get started on that tour.
So every floor plan, whether it's a wall or a floor, it has a jig.
Okay.
They have to lay that jig down. So say we're doing a high country 373 RD, they have a 373 RD jig laying in the jig rack. They'll bring that over and they lay all of the actual pieces from the cut list onto that jig and then 2-side weld them. Everybody 2-side welds. There's not a brand that can 3-side or 4-side weld, because if you weld on either side of the bottom or the top surface, that makes a hump in your wall. Right. So the term 2-side welds, that's what everybody does. That's an industry standard. So you can see here, this is a finished wall. Now this isn't specifically a Montana. At this point I can't tell you what brand this is, but you can see here where they actually have what we call the plug wall. This is the tubing for the actual end wall for the bed slide. So your end walls are built with your sidewall. That way, if you actually have a color variance in the fiberglass, it stays together. When we go to the production facility, you're going to see that those actual plug walls go with the production of the unit, so they meet again and they're made together. Just like a floor tile in your house. You want to buy all the same color lots. You can see here, strategically through engineering, we determine where we need the larger studs. Some of these, even though it looks like this is a large tube, some of these are called a double tube, where if we actually cut it away and you looked in the middle, it has an actual tube-in-tube type construction. So all of that's taken into consideration when they actually lay out and engineer the wall layout of what tube is where and why. This wall then, in the conventional process, will then go to a table where it will actually be packed with foam. And we'll go over here and show you a stage of what it looks like after it's been foam packed. Then it goes to where it gets the interior and exterior wall panels applied. So this, for example, is what we would call a packed sidewall, meaning that they've cut the foam, they place it into the cavities, they put some extra steel some places, like that big strip across there, that's a thin sheet of aluminum, or like galvanized steel. This is very, very thin. What that then acts is that's your nut on the end of your screw. So whenever you screw a cabinet there, that's what's going to help bond it versus going just into foam. So those are all put in strategic places. They don't guess on that. That is part of the print pack. So what they do is they'll actually pull the fiberglass off the roll. That's what allows us to do different colors of fiberglass. It comes in a roll. They'll run the fiberglass down. Then what they do is they do the backer, which usually is a Luan material. They lay that seam to seam on the fiberglass. Now in a larger fifth wheel, we'll take and we'll run double Luan. So we'll run a layer of Luan, then we'll start with a short sheet so that the seams overlap.
Okay.
And usually that's all relative to length. You need that strength in that wall as the unit gets longer. They'll run double Luan on a Montana or a high country. Then they'll actually they're going to set the frame down on top of that, and then they'll actually run the interior door panel or door decor, and that panel will actually go through the pinch roll process.
So as you can see, in what they call their conventional method, they build the frame first. They put all the aluminum parts in a jig, weld them all together, and from there they pack all that with the foam. And then the outer walls that you could see how they were constructed, fiberglass comes in a roll, and they back that with the Luan sheets, and then they offset that and double that up for the longer RVs and fifth wheels. And then from there they put the inside Luan or decor material, what they call it, on, and then it goes through a pinch roller.
It's the finished product of what you see on your inside of your walls.
Right, and from there then they hand route out all of the openings. Now for the Montana Luxury, and we believe it's the Fusion toy haulers.
Yeah, it's a toy hauler for sure. I'm pretty sure it's the Fusion.
There's a completely different method that they use, and it's far more precise. So we're gonna go meet back up with Sam again, and he's gonna explain that process or that method to us, and then we'll see you back here in a little bit.
So what we do first is we pulled the fiberglass out just like the other. Now we're going to run the Luan panels to put to the fiberglass. Then we put solid foam on that, and we pinch roll it the first time. That now is becoming our jig. It's doing our jig work. So none of the tubes can be out of place. They can't be out of square. It's literally made its own in-wall jig. And then they'll go down here to the next station where they put the aluminum tubes in and they weld them in place. So you're like, well, if it's solid foam, how do they get in there to weld it? The CNC comes in from a direct angle and puts a little dimple right where they need to weld. And they have where they can weld it right into place. Because they're MIG welding, it doesn't get hot and like burn the skin or melt foam. It welds it right there. Then they'll actually need to put the interior paneling on. So they'll then get the interior paneling, will go through the hot melt, put glue on the one side, they'll put it seam to seam, and it'll go through the second pinch roll process. Then once that's pinch rolled, it goes to the router that's going to route out all the openings, and that's what you see right now. So if I just want to change window size, it doesn't happen tomorrow. It's got to go through CNC programmer for the first one, for the second one, for here, just to move anything. But what happens is then you get a wall that has no crooked windows, unless something really, I mean, never's a big word, but I mean, that thing could have slid and jerked out of the way, but the chance of errors, a portion of it's eliminated. This is, the wall is actually never manually lifted. So it's going to be actually put down here on these wheel tables. It's going to be rolled down this way, and they're going to use a full dolly crane to lift that. I will tell you that there's manufacturers on the other process I showed you that take 6 guys and manually lift that and stack it onto a cart. And every time you do that, you're taking an opportunity, because there's going to be deflection when you lift it. You're taking the chance of that deck of cards to be broken, meaning that the glue to let go and you don't even know it. Because you're trying to get it to stretch like this, and we're trying to get it to stay straight. So doing it this way, and then when we go to the plant, you'll see from the plant, from this table, it's lifted with a crane. There's no 8 guys trying to lift it. There's no clamps trying to clamp on the fiberglass like you and I talked about. This is just the way to go.
So I had no idea there was more than one process of building a wall. I thought they did them all the same.
No, and you can see the Montana Luxury and the Fusions, completely different system. There's really not a lot of room for error as far as crooked windows and things like that with those CNC machines. So you can see how they take a lot of care to get things right, get things straight, and build you a wall that's not going to suffer any delamination or things like that down the road.
Well, that's their ultimate goal.
Exactly.
And I think they do a really good job at trying to, you know, achieve a good quality product.
That's what they seem to be after all the time. So now what we're going to do is we're going to head on over to the Montana plant, and I think that's what a lot of you guys really want to see is how these things are put together. So there's a link here at the end. Just click on that, and we will see you over at the Montana plant.
Thanks for watching, everyone.